people, deluded, back again with another tactical review. This is obviously in regards to our heavy defeat 5-1 against Liverpool. Yeah, before I begin, I think I've fixed any audio issues, so if you're having any, please let me know. If not, then we've got to try a third option. But yeah, it was a tough game. I've got a lot to say. Let me just make myself comfortable. I've got a lot to say. I'm a bit disappointed, not in the result. I'm more or less accepted. I actually accepted 5-6 in my head because of the form Liverpool's in and just because of where we are as a club. I think everybody accepted it. I'm more vexed about the performance, the way we went about things. Like it's mad. Like it's actually mad. I find myself saying this. Like Arsenal getting drummed 5-1 away doesn't really annoy me. I mean, of course, I don't want to lose like that, but it's just the performance. First time around, I will say as well, I did think there was a game plan or a clear way of playing with Unai Emery, how we tried to set out the team. Looking back at the game, obviously there's still sort of game plan. He's not saying go out there and just run around, but I saw it less having watched it again, so I'm inclined to go with what I saw second time round. But first thing I want to speak about, and I can't remember what way it is round. The goals. I think this is Firmino's first one. Now, obviously, in regards to Arsenal, it was good play from us to obviously get a goal and actually go ahead for once. And Liverpool haven't been conceding too many of late. Correct me if I'm wrong. And at least they went behind for the first time at Anfield. But I did think our pressing wasn't coordinated. If you look at games like against Spurs at home or Liverpool at home, you saw a clear way of pressing, everyone pressing together. I saw Aubameyang and Lacazette do it at, not Lacazette, Aubameyang and Ramsey do it at times together, but more often than not, we didn't look assured of ourselves. And the one time we did kind of press with a bit of coordination with Iwobi, Aubameyang and Ramsey, we forced Lovren into a mistake down their right, our left-hand channel, and then obviously Iwobi was then able to square it to Maitland-Niles. On the topic of game plans as well, just before I get into what I want to speak about, I have to give credit to Jurgen Klopp, man. It was hard to watch from an Arsenal fan's perspective, but as a football lover, credit where due, man. Liverpool looked scary. The way Liverpool went about it was man to a man. They pressed us very high with their strikers. I'll talk about that. The midfield became very narrow. The fullbacks were very narrow when defending as well. They tried to counter attack us. They hit us. All of their goals, or majority of their goals, is 3 or 4, 5 passes. They really did a number on us. The way they were working the wide positions with, to a lesser extent, Trent Arnold, but definitely Robertson, and obviously Salah was alternating between the middle and the right hand side. So it was a great bit of work with Liverpool, man. And I did see them change formation several times. I'm so sure. I saw a 4-2-3-1, I saw 4-3-3, and then I saw variations as obviously the game was going for them. And I will say this as well, again on the topic of high pressing, Van Dijk's a lovely ball player, you saw it, Alisson the same, Fabinho, Ronaldo, they all had 10, 12 seconds on the ball. It must have been a lovely game to be a Liverpool player because you had so much time in the ball in midfield. And when we did press occasionally, you saw Fabinho give a mistake and you saw Ronaldo do the same as well. Ultimately, we didn't to use it to our advantage. But the goal we conceded, now, admittedly, people, the third goal is, let me move this for a sec. Apologies. The third goal is the one which annoys me the most, and we'll speak about that. The second, obviously, you saw Lucas Torreira. He got caught in possession. It is frustrating, but for me, it's this goal, people. Cause you can see it. Again, I'm not the best of drawing people, but you can see the whole thing. Obviously, Alisson's there. He's played it now. He's essentially played it. I mean, not Alisson. Alisson's played it. Firmino's took it off him. Now Ramsey's here. I'm thinking, why isn't Ramsey closing him down? I'm thinking, why isn't Iwobi going to him? Aubameyang's here. Now we actually hit on the counter, but this is what I mean when I say we don't look at defending, like disorganising people's shapes or making tactical fouls. You saw it against Brighton with Lacazette and Socrates. You're thinking, just disrupt their shape. They've showed a willingness to counter-attack us, and they're doing it quite well. But what's annoying for me is, I've told you lot, midfield runners, how we defend and utilise wide areas will make the difference. But also, midfield runners. At the Emirates, Mane set up a goal because he checked into midfield and made a run from deep. We need to watch runners. Firmino picks up the ball, people, from his own area, essentially. He's picked it up off his keeper. He's played 2-1-2s, and he's played 2-1-2s. I think he's played one with Shaqiri. Xhaka should be out there. And then he's played another one with Salah, and he's just continued his run. Torreira's unaware. Obviously, there's several other things. I think something else happened. What have I got here? Yeah, That's the run of the player. So if it didn't fall back to Firmino, it would have fell to either Mane, who was there, we weren't marking properly. But all he does is literally start the play from deep and play 2 or 3 passes and follow his run. Obviously, we get a bit of luck there. Well, they get a bit of luck better yet. But you get the point. It's a very poor goal to concede. Defensively, we're at 6s and 7s as well. We don't know what we're doing for Salah. Look, like I said, he just continues to run essentially. Soccer artist is ball watching as well. People are getting in between. There's several things wrong with that, and it's how it's cheap goals that we're giving away really. Admittedly, now this one people has been a bit tangled up. Yeah, this one's been a bit tangled up and stuff like that. I didn't realise I wasn't holding it properly. But I think this is the third goal we conceded. Again, our own doing. It's a long kick from Leno. Leno's kicking in the beginning of the game was very nervy. I did think first time around he played some nice passes, in particular when he realised that playing short isn't going to work against Liverpool. So let's hit it long to Iwobi's channels. I did think that worked at times. But by the same logic, we were playing hot potato, the whole back five. And we were just giving the ball back. You have to be brave in possession, and it didn't look like the players were brave. The players have to hold their hands up. They were poor, but it didn't look like Unai Emery gave them a clear bit of instructions when they get the ball who to look for forward. It looked a bit like freestyling, but this goal was very frustrating for me, people, because like I said, Van Dijk balling out at centre half. It's a long kick initially from Leno, and it's our own doing. It's a long ball. They've played out from the back. Firmino's played it into Salah. Firmino's played it in behind Salah. It's about 4 or 5 passes in behind Salah for Kohler. I think if I remember rightly, Kohler dealt with it. But they forced a corner. Obviously, from that corner, we then deal with it again. We then dealt with the corner very well, and then we've let ourselves down again. Robertson picks up the ball, and again, a wide position's exploited. He finds, who did he even find? Was it Mane? I can't even remember who he found, but he found someone. And then obviously they exploited the left-hand channel. Lichtsteiner's playing people on side. People are not following runners. It's 6s and 7s essentially, and it's 3-1 at that point. Obviously, you think I'm probably missing a goal at this point. We've already spoken about Torreira. So we really shot ourselves in the foot essentially, people. And I think I tried to draw it to a bit better extent here, but that was poor, and we don't need to speak about that. So like I said, a constant theme was 4 or 5 passes. Like they clearly, where we didn't have a game plan, I have to rate Liverpool because they clearly had a game plan. You saw Trent Arnold getting very high up the pitch. Their fullbacks, let me try and draw it. Their fullbacks at any given opportunity, people was trying to go forward, and I give them credit. I really do. I really give them credit, people. Admittedly, I don't have another colour with me. I didn't plan on including this part, but one thing that was impressive, the starting positions, man. We were just allowing them to just come forward. Like the centre halves, I'll put circles around them, put a V and a D, make it better. The fullbacks were extremely high, anytime, because they wanted to create. Do you know what? Please work. This was essentially the starting position, and then we're allowing Fabinho, Van Dijk to receive it. Shaqiri was coming off the flank. Now, I haven't drawn it to scale, people, because admittedly, obviously, we're in a bit of a rush, but typical starting position you more or less saw. Again, my drawing is appalling, but you had the keeper. Whenever Alisson had the ball, the centre halves in Van Dijk and Lovren, obviously Dejan Lovren, they were showing a willingness. Like I said, they weren't being opposed, they were being pressed half-heartedly. So Van Dijk's cool under pressure, but Lovren, if you press him, you probably force some errors like you saw for the goal we scored. But we're giving them time, and with that being said, we're just dropping off. Fabinho is consistently going and receiving it off either centre half and whatnot. You had Ronaldo doing the same. You obviously had Shaqiri was technically stationed on the right, but was coming inside. Obviously, Mane was coming off the left. You saw people coming to the ball. Again, the thing I want you to really reiterate or look at is the fullbacks. Anytime Alisson had the ball, their fullbacks were gone. Their fullbacks were past their halfway line. They're trying to isolate 2v1 situations versus our fullbacks. And more importantly, they were targeting Kohler's side. They know Kohler is decent going forward, and he actually won the ball back for Iwobi and Ramsey to combine to set up us taking the lead. But they know we left a lot of space in behind. That's why they were trying to hit them. And if you look at all of our goals, at some period the ball has spent time on the right hand side. Um, from an Arsenal standpoint, again on the topic of game plan, offensively I don't think there was one. Defensively, clearly there was one. I'll talk about it in a bit, but yeah, clearly there was one. But I will say this: it's all fun and games having unofficially defensively five at the back holding shape, but it seems like our players don't understand that holding shape's just half of it. You need to look over your shoulder, you need to speak, you need to pass on runners, and especially the third goal, Lichtstein is playing people on side. I have to look at Leno. Why are you not calling that? I have to look at Lichtstein because you should know you're offside. I should be looking at his defensive partners. I mean, playing people on side. I'm looking at his defensive partners because who is telling him this? He's an experienced individual, and then when I'm seeing Mustafi clearly blame, again I can't hear them, but clearly blaming Lichtstein and tearing into Mustafi, it doesn't bode well. Socrates as well didn't cover himself in any glory as well for the goals we conceded. Obviously he gave away a penalty. There's no need to talk about the 5 goals. In fact, even if you do, the 4th one again versus the run of play, like I said, again against the run of play, which led to Salah being broke down. So against the run of play led to them equalising and walking through us. Against the run of play led to a corner, which then led to us failing to clear out from the box, which then led to Robertson putting it over. And then obviously they found it to make it 3-1. We were rattled and we conceded 2 quick fire goals to obviously make it 2-1. I keep forgetting Torreira's goal. Obviously 5-1 just kind of sums it up. I mean, Socrates, what are you... I'm not Socrates, I'm sorry. Kohler, I don't know what Kohler's doing. Why are you bringing man down in? Why are you pushing? Obviously, I do think Lovren's exaggerating, but there is contact and it is a penalty. Arsenal fans were very vocal about injustice, so we can't silence it. But it is what it is. On the topic of... I'll talk about our shape in a sec as well. I don't even think we had a shape, essentially. But, wait, is it the right way round? Yeah, it's this way. People, this is what I was rating. No, is it? Yeah. The Reds Liverpool, the Blues us people. This is what I was rating. Obviously, we didn't have 3 at the back when we were trying to play out from the back. You saw, obviously, I don't have everything, but you saw our fullbacks and our wingers do them sorts. But typically, what did you see? When Leno receives the ball, obviously both our centre-halves peel to the edge of the 6-yard box. Xhaka or whoever comes deep. Now, Liverpool were moving mad. I felt Salah did a good job initially staying in the middle, but he went out there, obviously, to exploit the flanks with Trent Arnold and exploit the space Kohler left. But pressing, Salah there. Firmino was coming through the middle and going there. Mane's obviously on the left. We couldn't get out. You saw it very early on. There was one pass Lichtsteiner got, couldn't do much with it. There was one for Leno. There was one where there was even, I think before Kohler gave away the penalty. I mean not the penalty, the free kick, which I mean the corner, which led to which led to them scoring and make it 3-1. I'm sure Leno did the same. So Liverpool, man to a man, they pressed very well. Like I said, I think they changed their shape a lot, but this is what I was seeing on a typical day from Liverpool. Their fullbacks defensively were becoming incredibly narrow, and then obviously Shaqiri would come off the flanks. My man Firmino would drop deep, and there would be you just see a sea of red shirts, and I think that helped them because again, Arsenal are not utilising these wide positions. You saw Maitland-Niles getting in behind occasionally and putting in crosses, but Liverpool dealt with it. Obviously, the one time we kind of exploited it in the sense that Maitland-Niles made a run and wasn't tracked, it was done. But we were doing our job. On the topic of ball playing as well, people, obviously I've moved several red shirts around now, but Aubameyang's not the best in terms of general play. In hindsight, it looked like we were ready to concede possession and all of these things and try and hit them on the break. Aubameyang's isolated. I feel one thing personally is why we let ourselves down. You need to be brave. Personally, I think even if we was brave, we would have lost to Liverpool without a doubt. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say if we were braver, we would have won. But you saw what bravery can do, and when having more of a clear attacking sort of plan can do. We got a point against Liverpool because of that. Obviously, we clearly fancy big games, or if we do fancy big games at all, we clearly fancy it more at home. But you get the point. I do think attack is the best form of defence. There was no way we could set up. I get it. It made sense for Maitland-Niles to drop in, and we're going to speak about that. Don't let me get away, people, without speaking about several things. Sorry, people. I'm just trying to find the notes for you. Look. Yeah. So I'm not. Yeah. So yeah. I think attack is the best form of defence. If we try to go into a scoring match with Liverpool, of course we'd lose it. But take inspiration from Liverpool. They don't sit back against Manchester City, for example, when the last time they beat them. They have a goal. They know City are going to cut them open from time to time and have a chance. But they still had a goal. like I said, man, I don't have all the things to scale, but I have to give credit to Liverpool's shape, man, because um, I did think, because maybe we were in better form and stuff like that. I did think possibly, just possibly, when we played them in the draw, I did think Klopp probably, if he looks back at the game, probably thought he flattered Arsenal a bit too much. He was a bit more defensive than he needed to be, especially with their options in especially in midfield. Oh, apologies, people. I rate them a lot, man, because to me, I was seeing a lot, man. I was seeing a lot from Liverpool. I was seeing a lot. I was seeing a sort of 4-2-3-1. Obviously, you had Salah at a point, and then you had them pressing. You then saw Salah and Firmino swapping. Mane occasionally taking central positions. You saw Shaqiri probably coming off the flanks. It was amazing for me. Anyways, you saw their fullback starting position high as hell, high, trying to get at us, vacate the space. Because obviously, if their fullbacks are pressing high, they're going to keep us pinned in our own box. Because our fullbacks can't get out. There's obviously going to be space to utilise, and which goes over people's heads. If the likes of Iwobi, which he did, but if Iwobi doesn't track back, and for instance, this is Trent Arnold, you have a midfielder which you see, making deep runs or unopposed, so which going on to the flick-ons. So which again, I think it was a fantastic drill from Klopp essentially. If I just rip this all up a bit, one thing I felt we did wrong as well is we clearly got a mental handbrake. I feel we had an inferior attitude in that whole game, especially the first 10, even though we scored. But one thing that was kind of harming us, people, and I did think it, when we conceded about 3 goals, we were a bit higher than you'd normally see us, people. But when we conceded, we started to just sit, for me. We're sitting way too deep. And then initially, when it was more like this, and then people were dropping, you saw this. You saw Mane, Salah, and thing for F it, man. We've won this already. Let's just stay up here. Then obviously the team is going to get further up the field, and I did think that didn't help us. In regards to our shape, everybody, including myself, thought clearly it looks to be free at the back. On one hand, I'm not going to, again, hindsight, everyone's a genius. I felt you could have went 4 at the back. I even said, let's play Jenkinson as well. But I see why you could go 3 at the back. It served us well before. But I think more often than not, we weren't. I think a big reason as to why we didn't win this is because we stood off them too much. We were second best to every tackle. We weren't as galvanised as them. Mainly the sitting off from their back 4. We were allowing their back 4, and especially Alisson, which if you watch that game again, it highlights the importance. We're allowing them to play out the back at will, and you cannot do that against Liverpool. If you're allowing them to play out the back, and we're not the best team when it comes to marking or positioning ourselves off the ball, you're allowing yourselves to possibly be doubled up against, or people to make runs, to which Liverpool did their homework, and they really did it. Obviously, from our point of view, if we pressed a bit together and we were braver, and obviously we had the silly defensive errors which can't be accounted for, we could have done so much better. It looked like 4 at the back, but I think our shape was where was it? Yeah, our shape was a bit more like this. Let me write that down. Obviously, people, sadly, this is all Arsenal now, so if you see some blue ones, it's not Liverpool people dropping sides, but you more or less, you probably saw something like this. For, what did I write down now? Got to remember this. Alright, cool. What I was seeing on a football pitch at times, people, was this. Was something more along the line. Was more along the lines of this. To be honest with you, people, I was seeing some. It was more like a 4-3-2-1 sort of thing. Because you obviously had Aubameyang, you had Iwobi. Obviously, to make it more realistic, Iwobi was probably stationed out there a bit more, and you had Ramsey. I felt Ramsey did well to help press. Let me make a backline, make it a bit more pleasing for you lot. Yeah, make it a tiny bit more pleasing for you lot on the eye. Obviously, Liverpool back 4 in blue now. This was more of our shape. Now there were slight differences, of course. Obviously, Maitland-Niles, it was more as a winger. Obviously, his job was to then sit in when Salah and their man are breaking, or whenever Liverpool on the break, to give us an extra man to make it prettier, to give us an extra man defensively. Obviously, people, if we've got an extra man defensively, a key part of defending it, if those of you like me that played as a right back, have to be able to shuffle across. If there's an extra man and we're shuffling across, in theory, we should have men marked better because we've got an extra man. And that allows one more person to be able to screen the back line and talk and things like that. So Maitland-Niles had to sit in. Obviously, it helps midfielders as well pick up men to a degree. So you were seeing that. But I did feel when pressing, we weren't helping ourselves. We against Spurs and that, we pressed together. We pressed together. The one time we pressed together to this right hand side, their left hand side, well, their right, our left hand side, we forced Lovren to kick it and make a mistake, to which we exploited. We didn't press together. Typically, Iwobi was alright, but Iwobi was more or less out here. Ramsey was a bit of both. He was helping press, but then he was trying to be deep. Maitland-Niles is out here, and then you got Lucas Torreira and Thingy. Obviously, I see what Unai Emery was trying to do. He's trying to make us tactically solid, but I don't feel you can do certain things in the Prem. I'm not saying it's a gun-ho approach, but I just don't feel we should have really sat ourselves like that. Obviously, as we then started chasing the game, you saw us differ a bit into our usual four. But yeah, we weren't really at it. Like, it's more. We were extremely poor, and again, watching the game again, I thought there was a game plan for Unai Emery, and I still do, but I can't see it, people, especially offensive. And in games like this, you need to be brave. Liverpool, they looked way more prepared for this thing than us. They looked way more intense than us. The fans played a big part, but Liverpool looked assured of what they're doing. Obviously, if I'm Klopp, the only bad things you could probably find, Arsenal probably had a bit too many chances in the first half that maybe City next week take advantage of. Obviously, there was no clean sheet. But the only thing is, you probably think, why didn't you score more? Like I said, people, the main thing for me was the fullbacks. Can I reiterate this example in a better way? Let me try. Whenever Alisson had the ball, people, like, I can't, like, you saw Alisson's ball playing. I can't lie to you. You obviously had Firmino and Ronaldo. I ain't even got another one, so we will have to click someone out. But what I liked, people, whenever Alisson had the ball, centre half, Van Dijk was playing lovely balls everywhere, lovely passes. Alisson the same into this channel. What I liked, the fullbacks were clearly told, get as high as you can. This is a day for that. Get forward, create 2v1 situations for people to run or link up with your teammate. Because these Arsenal players, they're unable to mark. And another thing as well, in the build up to, I believe, Salah's goals. If you look at it, if it's not going to fall to Salah, one of them else is going to pull it in. That's credit to Liverpool because they follow the run. They all think they can get on the end of it. But from an Arsenal point of view, that's poor from us because we're all ball watching. If you imagine these three people are all ball watching these two, and he thinks I've got a spare man, but my man tucks in and switches off, and my man who is onside, obviously as we're defending and we're pushing back, he has an effort. He makes a run and is unmarked and puts it in. We need to learn how to follow runners, and we really could have done much better in that. I feel Liverpool pressed our back line and pressed us and forced us into making mistakes, forced us to play out from the back as well and be nervy, and then forced us to play long balls. It came back to bite them for once, but other than that, they did well. Like I said, from someone that is a fullback, in particular Robertson, the way their fullbacks were getting forward, big part of it. I feel Van Dijk and their man there in defence did a great job. I feel Ronaldo did a good job as well, and Fernandinho, because typically it's Arsenal's fault. We were giving them too much time on the ball. We was giving them too much time. When we pressed them, you saw a couple mistakes, but Fabinho was just collecting the ball, then going and doing his thing. Even Ronaldo at times, like, they really, that was a game. Liverpool players, they're players that started, they must have enjoyed it, because don't get me wrong, they should have thought and believed they could beat us, but they probably wouldn't have thought they would have had that much time on the ball. And we were cut open. Look at the goals or the build up to the goals or moments shortly before the goals. We're cut open in 4 or 5 passes. Now, that's the difference. That is the difference between a side who know what they're doing. Now, we're at a different stage. And one thing off topic from this game, one thing that is annoying me is Arsenal fans keep linking this to Klopp. Oh, when Klopp took over Liverpool, he had time. Yes, Unai Emery needs time. Unai Emery needs time. I'm not saying he needs to sack him, but what Liverpool are doing and what Arsenal are doing are two different things. The coach is different. They're backing a manager. The manager's more or less having to make a miracle happen. Kroenke doesn't give a crap. Kroenke's never going to sell this club, so sadly we have to wait till nature takes its place. It's sad what people are doing to this club. I told people top 4 is a myth. I hope to God I'm wrong, but top four is a myth because the players that are out there, apologies people, the players that are out there are not good enough, and the players that are supposed to be experienced, they're behaving like headless chickens. There's a lot of cowardly behaviour in this camp at the moment. Um, we don't really know what we're doing. We need to do something in the summer. In the summer we need to do something, but in January, in a couple of days, in fact, we need to do something. People, we need to. You need a centre half. Dying, crying for a centre half. To a degree, again, doesn't matter what centre half you bring into the side. You could bring a prime Sol Campbell, John Terry, and Rio Ferdinand. They still would have got annihilated within our squad because of how we look at defending. And the more we get on, we have to look at what Unai Emery is probably doing. Like I said, Unai Emery is probably I got the least blame for him because what were the players doing? The players weren't brave enough. These are games to be brave, and you can't, as a manager, you can plan all week, but you can't plan for sadly what Torreira did for the second goal, or the nonsense Kohler and Socrates did, or Lichtsteiner not being switched on. You can't be thingy for that. But by the same token, I can't understand why Lichtsteiner started. You could tell his body's not, again, I'm not a physio, but he's not at it anymore. Clearly he's declining. You could see that. I felt, wow, the players could have been braver in possession. Clearly they're told to do something by Unai Emery, so he needs to do something. I felt it was a bit too pragmatic, a bit too safe. I felt Klopp learned his lessons from the draw, Arsenal versus Liverpool earlier on in the season, and you saw it. Obviously Milner probably might have started if Milner was there, so his hand was forced, but it was a bit more offensive. You saw different positions from Salah being taken up as well. So the difference in the game plans between the two managers for me was a massive thing as well, but more often than not you saw a difference between certain players who wanted it, players that were desired, players that had courage, and then you saw us. I'm not going to dig out Torreira. That's his worst game he's had in an Arsenal shirt, but he stood up to be counted. The man is tired, and footballers have bad games. We shouldn't, our team shouldn't rely on whether one man is having a good or bad game, and I just felt there was no bravery. You look at the side, how many players could you say showed any bravery? It's the two Hale End lads in Iwobi and Maitland-Niles. No one else can say they left that field with any real putting in any work. You could probably say Aubameyang. You can't really critique Aubameyang's performance because what could he do to a degree if your team's not in the game? But probably at the same logic, he only had 4 or 5 touches, and again, yes, he's isolated. Yes, Liverpool on top of us. But what does that say about the game plan? If that's what you're trying to implement, you know Aubameyang's weaknesses. You know potentially will be outshadowed in midfield. Why isolate him? And on top of that, if we go to the Brighton game, I swear we went 40, 50 minutes or so at a point without having an effort or creating a chance. So creativity is an issue in this team. I see great counter-attacking moves with my club. Don't get me wrong, I've seen us play some good football, some good passing, many passes football, and obviously we need to improve defensively, but it just looks like at the moment now we're relying too much on individual brilliance from players, which in games like this it doesn't happen. We look very promising from set pieces, and I have been saying that from all season, and even in the game there was 2 where we was offside. I think one in the 30th minute and one in the opening stages. Mustafi headed over, and one I can't remember, but we look to be very good at rehearsed set pieces. So if I'm seeing counter-attacks, set pieces, and individual brilliance, this doesn't breed creativity. You can say these players are poor, these players are this, the players are that, and a lot of it's true. But can you honestly say, regardless of that, we shouldn't be creating more chances? We shouldn't. Can we look at them? I know Thingy's not there, always when these players aren't there, but Maitland now shouldn't be your most creative player on the football pitch. he really shouldn't. And it does look to me is that the only real creativity I'm seeing is actually Leno trying to kick the ball out from the back and how we're trying to transition. I don't feel there's enough creativity throughout the team. There's a difference between stability and negativity, and we cannot be so rigid. To a degree, obviously I want to see us improve defensively, but for this season at least, we're not going to get top 4. We might as well be slightly more offensive in games like this, because we're not going to get top 4. We're going to get cut open anyways. We are not switched on defensively like you saw, where we can ride games and weather storms. We can't. You see our head loss in the same way we can see the 2 quick fire goals away in Manchester at Old Trafford. You saw at Anfield, 90 seconds between the second and third goal. These are the things that make differences. Keeping cool heads, temperament, and again I have to question the likes of, I think Socrates has been a better signing than I thought, but Socrates, Lichtstein, Mustafi, regardless of what I feel personally about your abilities, you man are experienced and you're behaving like children, behaving nervous and like kids, and yeah man, and just and Kohler as well, just to say it was a shambles would be a compliment. It really was terrible, to be honest with you. Like I said, from a Liverpool point of view, fantastic, but yeah, man, like yeah, there's really, I don't feel there's any much more for me to say. Let me just check people. We've obviously spoken about that. We've spoken about the back four slash five hybrid. We've spoken about wide areas, Ramsey pressing. Spoken about the goals. What else? Spoken about the game plan, the goals conceded, our slow transitions, the fullbacks, build up play. Oh, I keep dropping these things. The build up play again. There were so many incidences were being warned, and we were just so sloppy in possession, just giving the ball away. No real bravery, no real idea of who I could find with the ball. Like a big credit to Liverpool, and I'd say City to more extent. Yes, they're great attacking players, and they clearly both improved defensively. But one thing I rate about them sides there, within reason, every player on that football pitch can create a goal. Obviously, Alisson's a keeper. You want him to defend or goal keep first. But like you saw yesterday, you can create that. I'm obviously flattering Lovren a bit, but you get the point in it. Van Dijk, the better example. The fullbacks definitely. You look at City. How many times have you seen Ederson play a pass and they've scored? I don't need to tell you about their fullbacks or anything. Everybody looks like they can create a goal. And more often than that, if you look at City and to a lesser degree again Liverpool, every time the man in possession gets a ball, there's movement. There's movement. People coming short, people going long, people making movements for the sake of it. There's minimum two options for him to play. When we get the ball, we don't know what we're doing. And again, to reiterate that point again, I don't know what we're doing in terms of tactical fouls. We don't make enough tactical fouls. I'm not advocating foul play, but games like that where Liverpool's fans are on top of them, are gassing them and being a 12th man, and they're on top of us essentially, you need to break down play. You need to waste time. You need to take longer over goal kicks, take longer over fouls. Like I said, someone take a yellow card, just disrupt them. They were on the counter attack, and there were several opportunities we could have did that, preventing goals and stuff like that. Terrible game is all I can say, man. But more than the scoreline, I'm more upset in how we actually went about things. Like I would have accepted 5-1 if we actually had a go at things and we tried and stuff. Obviously, to a degree, as the game went on, we have to be fair to Unai Emery. He's damned if he do, damned if he don't. Because if he goes a bit more offensive and we concede 6, 7, 8, it's gonna be something memorable in his first outing at Anfield as an Arsenal manager. But yeah, man, I'm rambling. I didn't even think it would be 32 minutes. But on that note, people, deluded, stay safe and everything's DG. Arsenal 1, Liverpool 5, Liverpool 5, Arsenal 1. That's the tactical review done. I'm out.